verse 10, it says the people panicked. It says as Pharaoh approached, they were leaving bondage, and they were headed to the land that God had promised them. They were leaving an addiction. They were leaving something that they should have cut off a long time ago. They were leaving something that looked like it had a stronghold over them. But the Bible says that as they were leaving, it says Pharaoh, he approached, and the people of God, they looked up and they panicked when they saw the Egyptians overtaking them. They cried out, Lord. They panicked and they said, God, we thought you had delivered us, God. We thought that you were bringing us out of this situation, God. And God, now it looks like, God, that we were set up for the okie doke, God. It looks like, God, that when we thought that we had gotten away from this thing, that they're right back. And the Bible says that the people panicked. And when they panicked, it says they cried out to God. And can I tell you, if you're going to cry, that's the one to cry out to. But don't cry out to him as one without hope. You cry out to God and say, God, I need you right now, God. God, I need you to work it out. And then verses 11 through 12, it says that they began to blame Moses. And it says, and they said to Moses, that's why it's hard sometimes to lead the people of God, because God tries to get you to convince the people that where you are is beneath where I want you, that where you are it's just one step on the rung of the ladder. I want you up there, but to go up there, you're going to have to risk some things. And they said to Moses, why did you bring us out here to die in the wilderness? They said, weren't there enough graves for us in Egypt? What have you done to us? Why did you make us leave Egypt? They went on in verse 12 and said, didn't we tell you when you had all these dreams about what you were going to do, all these dreams about how God was going to bless us? We told you what would happen. We done seen Pharaoh in action. Pharaoh tried to take our tax exempt certificate. Pharaoh tried to take my job. Pharaoh has power, and we tried to tell you what Pharaoh was going to do. He said, didn't we tell you what would happen while we were still in Egypt? We said, leave us right here in Egypt. Let us be slaves in Egypt. He says it's better to be a slave in Egypt than to die in the wilderness. You know what? Every now and then we begin to doubt the power of God. God, I'll be better off dead. God, I'll be better off alive as a slave. But our ancestors say, before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave, because I understand that a slave is beneath what God has ordained for my life, and I refuse to live below and beneath what God has ordained in my life.